to keep it real with ya.
There were a couple people in high school who did come out as atheists. And I was happy about that because, and it's not even like we spent all our time talking about atheist shit. You know, I was a weed back then. You know, we was talking about anime, you know. We were talking about manga and shit. We weren't really talking about atheist stuff. But it was just nice to know that someone else was atheist. And one of the things that happened was that my mom was like, well, you know, you're going to high school, so you're going to reinvent yourself, right? Which, that's what they do on TV. You don't really reinvent yourself if you go into the same high school that everybody you went to middle school with is also going to. You can't reinvent yourself. They already know who you are. And I've been going to the same elementary and middle school, and now I'm going to the same high school. I am who I am. They already know me. So my mom basically told me to lie. She was like, tell everybody you're Christian so you won't be bullied for being an atheist anymore. And so I tried at first, you know, because people literally, like, I didn't even know people. And it'd be like people who knew me would tell other people, like, hey, she's an atheist, or she don't believe in God or whatever. And people would come up to me and be like, well, I heard, you know, or they'd be like, oh, so do you believe in God? And I'm like, bitch, what? I'm in line getting chicken nuggets and fries. Fuck you talking about God for? This has nothing to do with this. And they'll be like, but do you though? And at first I'd be like, oh, yeah, sure. I believe in God. And then their friend who knew me or knew about me would come around the corner and be like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Because I remember when we was in middle school and you said that you didn't. And you said you didn't believe in God. And all that shit, like, people can't change their mind. But I couldn't escape it. I couldn't escape it. It just is what it is. Like, I decided, like, I'm not going to hide from it. Like, bro, I don't believe in God. It's whatever. Like, I'm happier. Even though I was going through a lot of stuff just being a teenager, because being a teenager sucks, I was still like, I'm happier now than I was when I was a Christian. So one of the things that happened that pisses me off to this day was I once again had another teacher who felt that it was her duty to educate me on Christianity because she found out that I was an atheist. And so this teacher had the nerve to, in one of our classes, literally go on a rant about how people want to take God out of schools and how that's wrong. And she said, I am not ashamed to say that Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. And if you are not ashamed to say that either, stand up. So everybody stands up except for me. And I'm sitting there like in protest. I'm sitting there, you know, reading my manga, like whatever, I don't care. And my friend was like, Minu, stand up. You know, you already be getting bullied, like stand up. First of all, if I stand up, everybody's gonna be like, no, you ain't, sit your ass down. That's one. Two, the teacher should have never did that shit in the first place. That's rude as fuck because you don't know who all is in this classroom, whether they are Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindi, or Hindu. You don't know what's going on with people in this classroom for you to say some shit like that. That was disrespectful as hell. And third, fuck that bitch. Fuck that teacher for thinking that she was going to take a class period that had literally nothing to do with religion and she was going to go on a fucking religious rant about Jesus and stuff, and then literally call out the students in the classroom who weren't religious, which only was me. So that led to even more bullying because students who didn't know me from middle school or who didn't pay attention to me in high school, because I ain't had no friends, you know, like I didn't really know nobody like that. I was, you know, an outsider. And most of the time, nobody really bothered me. It started up the bullying again. It was like, they were telling teachers, they was like, she don't believe in God, like, and teachers were allowing them to bully me, and I was like getting into it with people, and it was just so much stupidity over something that shouldn't have been a thing. And if I could go back in time, I would definitely like report. First I reported to the principal, but I know he's not gonna do shit. Then I reported to, I don't know, the school board, news, whoever, and just kind of put them on blast. My school had already got put on blast because we did have a severe bullying problem. And my principal got all mad because, you know, he felt like the kids who were complaining about bullying were actually the bullies or they were actually the bad kids, whatever, to protect his image as a principal. But we did have a bullying problem. And me being bullied over some religious shit and not having, and it being spearheaded by teachers who did not care, I should have came at them in middle school and high school, because that's just illegal. Like, you cannot be discriminating against students based off of their gender, their race, their religion, like their orientation, like all of that. Like, I remember seeing those little EEO stuff. Like, you're not supposed to be doing that. So it really pissed me off that these educators thought it was appropriate to allow this stuff to happen. Another thing that happened around this time, I had younger cousins, and my family began to kind of like limit my interactions with them. And it was very upsetting because I did love my cousins. And so my family would kind of limit my interaction with them because they didn't want me to tell them crazy stuff. So like, I had a cousin who one day she just was like, Santa Claus isn't real. And everybody blamed me. Everybody swore up and down that it was me who told her that. And I was like, no, she just smart. Yeah, any kid can just figure out that Santa Claus isn't real. That's not something somebody has to tell you. You know, it takes work to believe in Santa Claus. So they were terrified that I was going to tell like the kids in my family about me not believing in God, and then they would question God and like all of that stuff. And I had a cousin who really looked up to me, and she came to me one time while I was doing my history homework. And in my history homework, I don't know if it was history or science, but in the homework it was talking about Homo sapiens, but it was also talking about like Homo erectus and Homo habilis and the like types of humans that were here before our version of humans. And so she came over and she was like, oh, what you reading? And I told her that, and she was like, why would God make other humans before us? And I straight up told her, I'm not allowed to talk to you about that. I'd love to explain it to you, but your parents won't allow it. Period. One time she even said, she was like, how come when I talk to God, God don't talk back? I'm not allowed to talk to you about that because I'm not about to be getting into it with my cousins and stuff because I done poison their kids' minds or whatever. Like, I just, no. And I was the person who, once I strayed away from religion, I also became much more accepting of like other sexualities. And so some of the times the kids would come to me and they'd be like, you know, like, oh, I heard about gay people and they're fine, right? And I'm like, yeah, gay people are totally fine. My family don't think so, but I would tell them gay people are all right. Nothing wrong with them. Great people living their lives just like everybody else. And my family would be like, no, you're supposed to say gay people are bad so that they don't think that gay is an option. Too fucking bad. I'm being who I'm being, and you just gonna have to deal with it. So I really didn't get to spend a lot of time with them for a long time, especially when it got closer to me going to college. That really just like took me away from the family in general, which I mean, honestly was better for me to be away from the family, but also, you know, I miss spending time with my cousins. So when I went to college, the first thing I went to the college, it was a religious college. So there was a prayer at like the opening ceremony or whatever for the new students. And I like went to a professor. I was like, they can do this? And they were like, yeah, it's a private religious college. And I was like, oh, fuck, what am I getting myself into? I really thought I had fucked up. I was really like, man, I wanted to go to a non-religious college. They're going to force me to dress a certain way and act a certain way. It wasn't like that. It was still a liberal college, but it was religious. But only a little bit religious because they were liberal. So there was two options at my college. You could take one type of... and it was like required courses, and you take two paths, and you're going to read the Bible regardless, but you could take two paths with these reading the Bible classes. And one path was that you were just going to read it and just believe it. And this was for the people who wanted to maybe, who were maybe like Catholic or something, and they just wanted some easy A's, I guess. I don't really understand what that path was. But the other path was like you were going to read like philosophy books and stuff in addition to reading the Bible. And you were going to get to question the things that you read in the Bible. And I was like, sounds right up my alley. Yeah, let's question the Bible. And so I was reading the Bible, and in the first class I took, I literally got into a yelling, I would say it was a screaming match. Me and my professor got into a screaming match because we disagreed over the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. So I know that the progressive thing to say is like the book was it was really about hospitality and not like being gay or whatever. In my mind at the time, I was like, I think it's about being gay, or I think it's about people performing sexual acts that aren't missionary. But I didn't care because it didn't affect me to think that way. I was like, okay, maybe God don't like gay people. Whatever, God ain't real anyway. So if God don't like gay people, it does not matter. So I wrote my paper just being like, it kind of seems like they mad at gay people. Like that's why I wrote my paper on. And he was like, no, it's about hospitality. And I was like, I mean, and also when I was writing my thing, I was like, it's not that I was thinking that, oh, gay people are bad and the Bible says so. I was just like, the Bible is saying that gay people are bad because the Bible was written by people who didn't like gay people and God don't exist. So, and then I was like, and on top of that, God was kind of a dick in that story for deciding to kill everybody. Like, there was children there. There was babies there. There was pregnant women there. God killed everybody? Because some people like to do it in the bud. That's trifling. So that was kind of the tone of my paper. And my professor was so mad at me. He was like, basically saying like, God doesn't hate gay people and show me some proof where the Bible says that it's about gay people. And I went out and I wrote a whole nother paper where I found other verses in the Bible that did talk about homosexuality. And I brought that to him. And he was like, no, you still getting an F. And I was like, I thought this was about discussion and debate and philosophy and like all of that stuff. Like we were supposed to be free thinkers, but nope. He was basically like, God is real. God was mad about hospitality. God does not hate gay people. And I was like, God is not real. Therefore, this whole argument is bullshit. So I mean, I passed the class, but I failed that paper. I just refused to. I refused to give him what he wanted. And then I learned later in college that sometimes you got to give if your professor's an old white man, sometimes you got to give him what you want. Sometimes you just got to do it to get out of the class. It's not gonna hurt you to just be like, all right, you're right. Yeah, but here's your 1,000-word essay or whatever. But I did read the Bible. I didn't read all of it, but I did read a lot of the most popular stories, and I read some not so popular stories. And my family was super happy because they're like, yeah, she's reading the Bible. She's going to turn Christian. I had already been reading the Bible. It didn't turn me Christian. It just was like, hey, this is a book. And in my mind, it was like, God didn't write this book. They're literally called, like, they're named after people who wrote the book. Like, so God didn't write the book. So I was like, oh, these are just some dudes who wrote some stories. And now we believe this to be true. And so it didn't convince me at all. So I just was more firm because I also got to meet people of different religious backgrounds. I got to meet people of who were like atheists. And I eventually went to my grandmother because my family knew about it, but everybody was like, don't tell grandma. And so I finally went to my grandma and I was like, Grandma, I got to tell you something. And she was like, what is it? What is it? And I was like, Grandma, I don't believe in God. And she was like, girl, I thought you was going to tell me something important. I thought you was sick or something. You over that ain't nothing. And I was like, for real? You don't want to make everybody go to that whack-ass church, you know? I just thought you'd be upset about it. She was like, girl, please, no. I know you be reading the Bible. Like, I see you. You can make your own decision. Now, if you hadn't read the Bible, I would tell you to go read the Bible. But since you read the Bible, that is your decision with what you read. And I was like, okay. I should have came to you first. I don't know why I let the rest of my family know shit. I should have went to grandma first and let her know about it. I was really happy. I was like, oh, fuck everybody in the family. Grandma said it's cool for me to not be Christian. So whatever, up yours. I do what I want. I was super happy. I was telling everybody, I was like, girl, I told grandma that I'm an atheist and she was cool with it. And I mean, my family still makes little jokes every now and then, or every now and then if I mention the fact that I'm an atheist, they'd be like, but what do you think everybody came from then? And I'm like, what if we just came from nothing? I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. That doesn't affect me in my life at all. That affects you. I'm straight with there being no God. You need to figure out what you would do if there was no God. That's on your butt. On me, I'm straight. And And so I became so much more confident in being an atheist. And I had friends who were, I think all of my friends really were Christian. Like I didn't seek out friends who were atheists or of any particular religion. I spoke to Jewish people. I spoke to Muslim people. I was just cool with everybody. I didn't care what your religious orientation was. And and my closest friends were all Christian of some denomination. And it literally was no big deal for us because they even recognized like some of the things that I disagreed with in the Bible or some of the things about God that didn't make any sense. They was like, yeah, we get that too. And that was it. And they saw what I saw and they saw that it was confusing and they still chose to believe in God. And they was just like, look, believing in God is a choice. You know, being religious is a choice. You chose opposite of what we chose and that's fine. My friends are so progressive. Man, they really leveled me up. They really helped me out a lot in being more woke and more progressive. But I had this other situation happen at my school. So when I was in college, I went to my very first Pride Parade. And I was so happy. I loved it. You know, there were drag performances. You know, the Planned Parenthood was there. We marched in the parade. It was awesome. It sprinkled a little bit. And I came back and I was getting a ride home. I was on campus. I lived off campus. I was getting a ride from one of the campus safety officers home because it was nighttime and I didn't want to walk because I live in a dangerous place. And so he was driving me home and I basically talked about how I just did a Pride Parade either the day before or earlier that day or whatever. And I was just talking about it because I was like so happy. You know, I was telling everybody, I was like, man, I went to a Pride Parade. It was awesome. I loved it. It was a great environment, you know. So I was very happy to have gone. So I mentioned it, and this guy, he's an older black guy. So he was probably in his 30s. And I was like, yeah, it sprinkled a little bit, which was annoying because I had a perm at the time and it was messing with my hair. He was like, it should have thundered and lightning and hell should have came down. And I was like, the fuck are you talking about? What do you mean it should have thundered and lightning? No, it was bad that it rained. What are you talking about? Because there was like one person who protested the Pride Parade. It wasn't like a huge thing. And he was like, because all the gay people or whatever. And I was like, what's wrong with the gay people having a Pride Parade? And he looked over at me and he was like, ain't you Christian? And I looked at him and I was like, no. What is this about? What are you talking about? And he was just basically like, what do you mean you're not Christian? You're black. And I was like, so where is this conversation going? And he was like, why aren't you Christian? And I was like, it's none of your fucking business. Drive me home. And so this nigga, I shit you not, pulls over on the side of the road and puts the car in park and says, I'm not taking you home until you answer my questions about why you ain't Christian. So at this point, I'm scared because this is a big man. This is a big black man, you know, much older than me, stronger than me. I don't think they have guns as campus safety officers, but probably had some kind of weapon on him that he would use when shit gets handy. I was like, this does not seem like a safe situation right now, but also it's in the middle of the night and I don't want to get out and walk. So I kind of was answering his questions, but like just lightly. I was just like, I just don't believe in God. It's just not important to me. And he asked the standard questions about like, but what do you believe in then? And I was like, I believe in living my life like a normal person. Like, I don't think that this is an appropriate conversation for us to be having. And he was like, you know, trying to give me all his little justifications of like, oh, you woke up though, and God is so beautiful and God is amazing. And why don't you want to feel that joy in your heart and like all of that stuff. And I just was like, I just don't care. Can you take me home, please? And he was like, fine, okay. So he took me home, and then I got out the car and he's like, Jesus loves you. And I'm like, fuck you. I didn't actually say fuck you. I was just like, whatever. And I went inside and I was like, that was awful. That was horrible. I hate that. And for the next few days, I'd be randomly walking around campus and this man would just pull up in his campus safety vehicle and be like, Jesus woke you up today. Jesus loves you. God loves you. Like, he would just pull up, and I was just like, this is so weird. Is this man following me? what does he think this is going to accomplish? Like, what does he think being creepy and stalking me is going to accomplish? Like, do you really think that I'm going to be like, I didn't believe in God at all, but then this man that I didn't know that was in a position of authority over me began stalking me and yelling out stuff about Jesus at me at random moments, and it put me in a state of paranoia and hypervigilance. And so then I decided to convert to Christianity, and now I praise Jesus. Is that what he wanted? Shit was fucked up. So then I was telling my friends about it, and I was like, this is just awful. I don't want to have to keep dealing with this. So my friends was like, no, speak up for yourself. And I was like, what do I do? And again, like, you think about it, like middle school, high school, I never spoke up for myself in terms of, or advocated for myself in terms of these teachers treating me a certain way or allowing me to be treated a certain way. So when I'm in college and this happens, I'm just like, I guess this is just my life now. And my friends were like, no, you can report him. So I actually had a friend who worked in campus safety, like a student position. And she was like, go talk to his boss. So I went and talked to his boss. I didn't even know the man's name, you know, so he had to pull up like a roster with all the pictures of all the people. And I had to like point him out of a crowd, not a crowd, but I had to like point him out amongst all the other pictures of all the other officers and be like, this is the guy. This made me very uncomfortable that he did this. And it was really, really weird. I've never had to do something like that. And so, like, I finished reporting him and everything, and I guess he got fired later on, or he quit. I don't know. I just didn't see him after a while. But it was like, I was like, man, it's that easy. Like, because I know that after I reported him, there was several times when I called and asked to be picked up, and no one ever showed up. And I felt like it was that guy knowing that it was me being picked up from that area, and he just decided not to show up. And then one time he did end up picking me up, but he decided to just ignore me the entire time because I guess he was mad that I snitched on him. Which he should be mad that I snitched on him because he's unprofessional as fuck. You're supposed to be making me feel safe. You campus safety, and you made me feel unsafe. But anyway, that ain't the point. I'm not mad. But he literally had the radio on playing music, and then he had his earphones in playing music into his earphones so that he can completely ignore me while I was in the car. And also, I'm not a backseat bitch, okay? Everybody who picked me up, Uber, campus safety, whoever the fuck picked me up, I'm sitting in the front seat. So he wasn't about to ignore me, okay? Like, I was looking dead upside his head like, you know, drop me off over here and do your fucking job right this time. Like, I felt so empowered by being able to snitch on him. And then a little bit later, he just, we didn't see him anymore. So I don't know if he got fired or he quit or he went to another job, but I was just glad he was gone. And I even told another campus safety officer about the incident and how my teachers had treated me in school. And I was like, man, I wish I could have done something. And this was a white man at this time. He's like, you should have just sued them. And I was like, the fuck I look like in middle school suing a teacher? Like, why would you even think I would know something like that? And he was just like, yeah, you just sue him. And I was like, ain't there steps to that? Like, you think I just got lawyers on deck? I can't just sue people. But also I was like, what did happen was wrong. And they should have suffered some type of consequence for it. But they never did. And I wish that I spoke up then about it. I'm low-key speaking up now, but not to the extent that I would like to. Like, I should have really, you know, done more. But I also know my family probably would have stopped me because they didn't want me to shit on their beloved school. Because all my family members went to the same school. I think that they would have stopped me. And then there was another incident where I had a professor who was Israeli. So she did a thing where we were at this event and everybody was just kind of sitting around at random tables eating and stuff. And we were all history people, people who had majored in history. And we were sitting around the table and my professor was like, oh, it's so beautiful. You know, you have all these different people gathering together at the same table, eating together and breaking bread and whatever. And she was like, why don't we all go around on the table and talk about our different religious identities? And so, you know, people coming around that Jewish, Muslim, Christian, blah, 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 blah. And it got to me and I was like, well, I'm an atheist. And then this white girl next to me just straight up was like, you're not one of those asshole atheists, are you? And I was like, I don't know what that means. Because again, I only watch YouTube for a specific period of time. I was not seeing all of the different things that was showing up on YouTube about like the atheists who were like anti-feminist or anything like that. So I was just sitting here like, bitch, what the fuck you mean? Do I seem like an asshole? Everybody knew who I was. Do I have a reputation of being an asshole? Have I ever said anything that was mean to religious people? I hadn't. I never attacked anybody's religion. I just asked people to respect my lack of religion. That's all I want. Do what you want to do. Respect my right to do what I want to do. And that was it. It's a bit annoying because I never attack religion. I mean, I still celebrate Christmas and stuff. It's not because I think Jesus was born on Christmas. It's because I like being off work and out of school. So I never attacked anybody. I never sat around a table and been like, well, I'm going to pray and I'm going to tell everybody why praying is stupid. Or, you know, when people prayed in my family, even when I was younger, when people prayed in my family, I would just go to the bathroom. Like I would just be somewhere else and not participate in the prayers. Like I didn't want to do it and I didn't care. I didn't tell anybody that they weren't allowed to pray. I just was like, I'm not going to pray with you. But do you, boo. And even to this day, like I'm living my life more. I don't mention to everybody I meet that I'm an atheist because it's just not something I feel like I need to say. Because I'm like, I rarely end up talking about religious things. And if I do, I tell people, well, I'm not religious. And I've been at work before and somebody brought up like, oh, my mom's a Jehovah's Witness. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm not religious, but you know, more power to you for doing what you want to do. And people be like, oh, well, you know, it's not that big of a deal. And I'm like, yeah, true. But I've also had coworkers who've been overly religious with me. And I've tried to explain to them to please stop doing it because it makes me uncomfortable. Like people who feel like they can hug me and, you know, be like, did you pray to God about your issue? And I was like, did I pray? Why are you asking me these personalized questions? They'll be like, you know, I'm not doing well. Can you pray to God for me, Minu? And I'll be like, okay. And then they'll be like, did you pray for me? And I'll be like, yeah, sure. And they'll be like, girl, what you say to God for me? And I was like, what the fuck? Like you really all up in my business right now, okay? I said I prayed for you. Just be happy with that, okay? Just be happy that I prayed for you. Because I really ain't do shit. But be happy that I was thinking about you enough to lie to you about praying for you, okay? But that's how crazy people are towards me about religious nonsense. And I'm just like, go be religious, go be Christian. I don't even give a fuck if you was a Satanist. I really don't. Like, I just want to be me and do me and live my life the way I want to live it without somebody telling me what I should and should be doing with my life. That's it. That's all I want. If you hear nothing else from this video, all I want is to live my life as I want to live it, and everybody else can live their lives as they want to live it. As long as you're not hurting anybody, we straight. If you're hurting people, we got a problem. But if you're not hurting people, go live your life. It's no problem. There's no problem. We're good. We're Gucci. You know, so I just wanted to get that out. I just wanted to explain kind of like my feelings about atheism. I can make more videos about it if you want. I'm not really like, you know, genius debater, skeptic. I'm not like Rationality Rules or Jimmy Snow or Telltale or any of those people who like spend a lot of time debating religion, because I just really don't feel like it, because I feel like at the end of the day, people's religion is a very personal thing and it's how they feel about themselves and it's a part of their identity. And to argue with someone about a part of their identity just sounds like a way to get easily frustrated in an argument, you know? So to me, it doesn't really feel like there's a purpose to arguing about religion unless somebody is arguing like how Jimmy Snow argues against certain like legislations and stuff that are religiously based and they are used to discriminate against people. I can argue about that, but somebody's personal religion, like, hey, let me tell you why you shouldn't believe in God. I don't really feel like doing that. That feels like too much work, you know? So I just rather just be like, let me live my life and you live your life and we can be good. We don't got to fight or nothing, okay? We can coexist peacefully, you know? But yeah, I just wanted to explain kind of like my identity, how I came to be atheist. It really wasn't influenced by anybody other than myself and my own thoughts and my own feelings. And you know, if you're not atheist, that's fine. You know, I don't care, you know. I don't think that everybody should be atheist or everybody should be a specific religion. I just think that everybody should just mind their own business and let other people mind their own business. As long as you minding your business and you're not minding my business, then we good. Because, you know, if you're minding my business, who's minding your business? So that's all I want to say. If you guys have any comments or questions or just anything you want to talk about your own experience or like some of the arguments that you've gotten or some of the things people have said about to you, let me know down in the comments. My favorite one is who you think woke you up this morning. That's my favorite, my favorite religious argument. But let me know some of your favorite religious arguments in the comments. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.